really hard here. It's very loud.
Yeah, I think
So,
I think that's a lot of places. So
just yell if you're having trouble hearing me. So I figured the masking question would come up. So currently, we're still the guidance to states from the CDC is that because you're bringing groups of unvaccinated children together, unrelated unvaccinated children together, that adults and children continue to wear masks in childcare settings. We understand that there are going to be some big changes to the masking, the lifting of the ordinance, or the order at the end of the month. We have put forth that question to the Department of Health and are waiting for them to, we've actually put out some different draft communications to go out to the field, but we're waiting for their final approval on that communication. So I would anticipate something going out in the next day or so. I actually thought something was going out earlier this morning. I've been in meetings all day talking, so I'm not sure what happened, but all of a sudden there was literally a don't send that. So I'm not sure where we are, but there's going to be a communication soon that clarifies things. We've been getting lots of outreach ourselves from families, so we know, and then from programs. So we know that programs are in some places feeling really kind of beat up about this issue. And again, sorry, can you even hear me? You're okay? It's just so loud here. So, that really was kind of the impetus for us sending out the message yesterday with the recap that gave people, we actually had a provider that said that might be helpful, and it dawned on me this weekend while I was running errands. I went into the grocery store, and there was a sign that said masks are not needed for vaccinated individuals. And then when I went to Staples, it said masks are encouraged for everyone. And I thought that was just a really kind of clear message as to what the expectation is. And yeah, let's do something like that. So the comms team was able to throw that together. And it was really just about, if a program wanted to use that, we wanted to give them that as a tool. So, and we got some good feedback for it. So we recognize that programs are really kind of feeling a lot of push from families, and hopefully that will all get taken care of in the next day or so as we communicate that to folks. Any questions for me? I know that was really vague. It's changing. It is changing. I just can't tell you exactly what it's going to say right now. Okay, so, oh wait, Jeannie, you're...
Yeah, sorry. Or
okay.
when it's gonna, so you said it'll be changing, but you can't tell us when it's gonna be changing or when it will take place.
I mean, again, I thought it was going out like at 1 o'clock today, but it's been delayed. I'm not sure why. So I would anticipate it's going to go out very shortly. Definitely by the recap on Monday would be the very latest, I would think. But again, reminding folks that we have until the 28th before the masking order, like before that is lifted. So, we're hopefully getting out ahead of stuff, getting things out a little earlier. I wanted to also just give everybody updates on the draft, the CCDS state plan. So we finished the public comment period with our the public hearing that we had on May 18th. So Octo had received some feedback from the Region 3 Office of Child Care, and then we had all the feedback from the written comments and the testimony, and staff worked to kind of incorporate those comments and address them. And the plan is being sent, and it's due at the end of June. And so at that point, we'll be waiting to hear what the Office of Child Care says, if they accept it or if they have any edits that they're expecting from us. And then once we get the final approval that the plan's been accepted, that same page on the DHS website that all of the information's been housed up until now, that'll all get updated. We'll have the final plan will be posted there. There'll also be some summaries about the listening sessions that we did over the winter, as well as kind of how we responded to the different comments that were submitted through the online portal, just so folks can see what other people said and how we responded to that. So that'll all come up, again, once the plan's been accepted by the Office of Child Care, that'll all get published on that page on the DHS website. Does anybody have any questions for me about the plan or the process or where we are? I did want to throw out some stuff around the acknowledging the staffing shortage that's going on, because again, a lot of calls I'm on, I'm hearing concerns about that. So another communication that folks should be keeping an eye out for, we're going to be putting out a communication through certification that really kind of reminds folks that there's currently a waiver process in place that they can take advantage of, that would allow them on a temporary basis to, it's actually the regs are 1370, 34, 35, and 36. So they speak to center director, group supervisor, and assistant group supervisor credentials. So again, the goal is going to be this: these are temporary waivers. They would still need to hire somebody that meets CPSL guidelines, so they'd still need to have their clearances and all that need to be in place. And on a temporary basis, they could hire, if they have the waiver, they could hire folks that don't quite meet the guidelines, meet those credentialing guidelines. And then there'd be a process. They work with their cert rep to come in to develop a plan to show whether the person was already enrolled in a program or how we were going to connect that person to a PDO, to start the process of getting them to the place where they could actually meet the credential for that role. And there would be a timeline associated with it. So we understand it's not a complete fix for what's happening with staffing, but we also recognize that there's this real concern about being able to meet ratio. And so it's something that's already allowable in the cert regs, and we just wanted to make sure that folks understand that. The internal Octal certification staff are also going to be working with the cert reps around just how to support programs through this. There's a real, they're really working now with these conversations with cert to kind of approach this a lot of all of the certification process from a CQI perspective, so that they feel like they've got cert reps as a partner and can really use them as a resource. And so this is going to be an instance where we think this is going to be a good place for that to happen, where cert reps can really kind of try to work and talk through with programs and try to think through, how does this waiver help them at all? How could they implement the waiver in a way that's going to keep them in compliance and in the long term, but meet their needs right now? So that hopefully information is going to be going out. Again, Trace, she kind of put the deadline of by Monday in the recap as her latest is when she wants this to go out, because we've just been hearing about this all over the state. And then we also have, I know it was in the early ed news, but just reminding folks that the PAKey, the comms team, really beefed up the job search section of the PAKey's website. So they're not actually posting job openings or posting applications for folks. What they're doing is they've looked at the state, they have a statewide section, and then they have a regional section. And what they're trying to do is just pull together any links to sites where people might be advertising job openings, or where staff might be able to go to apply for jobs. So they just wanted to consolidate it and put it in one place so that folks could find that. If you go and take a look at that website and you have a source, someplace that maybe you advertise jobs or people go to look for jobs, that's not included there, please reach out to us, because the intent for it is to be as inclusive as possible. So we want to get as many resources up there as possible, so just let us know if we're missing links. They kind of went with what they knew, and we did some outreach to some other folks and asked them for their links and what they were including. And so we've started with this, hoping that it would just kind of start to build from there. So again, just another small thing that we're trying to do to help with what we're hearing about with the staffing shortage. So I'm going to pause and see if anyone has any questions for me about that.
Karen, it's Rose.
Hey, Rose.
Hi, I do have a question about that. So you're saying about the links for programs. So if I, as an individual program, have job openings or a posting or taking applications, you're not asking that we connect with them, only organizations who are doing multiple. Is that what you're talking about? Okay. Yeah. Even if it's a multiple site location. So if it's a larger company, I'm thinking, I don't know, Bright Horizons or somebody that's a bigger company.
I think maybe I would have them send it and just see. I don't want to speak for Colin and how he's got things set up, whether that would work. I think if it doesn't just take you to it's not this particular site is looking for openings versus I'm an organization and this is where you can go to see what all of my openings are, then we would definitely post something like that. So
Okay.
I would have them send it to Colin, and if it fits and he can make it work, he will definitely include it, because that's the goal, is to get as much up as possible without making the PA key kind of into this role of, you know, basically managing individual sites'
Right.
application processes.
Right. And you're saying we send it to Colin. Do you
if you want to send it to me, I can forward it to him.
That's what I was just getting ready to say, is that, do we have an email address that we need to address it to? Okay, thank you.
Sure. Okay, I think the last thing I had on my list, Jeannie, was just a little update on the American Recovery Plan Act and where we are with that process. So there are 3 parts, like different parts of the American Recovery Plan, and the thing that makes it complicated is that they all have different guidelines for how the money needs to go out, and they all have different time frames for when they need to be encumbered, when they need to be spent. So I think the biggest section that people are interested in is the section around the stabilization funds. That's, you know, a little over $700 million. So it's a lot of money. We got some guidance from the feds. We know that 90% of it must go out to programs. 10% of it can be used for administrative and kinds of the things that we need to get the money out to folks. There was language in there that talked about needing to base payments on an estimate of a provider's loss. So originally we were like, because we thought they were telling us that we needed to like have every single provider like tell us what they thought they were losing because of COVID before we could give them the money. But we got some additional guidance and realized that we can use some like statistical methodology to kind of figure that out. So we're working with Phil Serenides, who did the COVID-19 impact study, what the Act 24 funds were based on, and he's working to update it and expand it, and working with the data folks within Octal to kind of think through what is a good distribution strategy based on, you know, what we know about those losses. We're also working to do some simplified application around that. So, you know, for programs to be able to go in and, you know, apply for the funds. So for the most part, we're thinking for when all of this, for this all to come together, we don't expect to see these dollars out until later in the summer, like late summer into the early fall. But the goal is still to put the dollars out really as flexibly as we possibly can. We still really kind of stand behind the strategy that COVID has hit the state in different ways across the state, depending on where you're located, and that we really want to give programs as much flexibility as possible to fill the gaps that they have based on where they are and what they're seeing. Now, knowing that, there's also some additional language that really talks about supporting programs in understanding that the money is there, understanding what they need to do to apply, and understanding what they're allowed to use the money for. So we are looking at ways to do that. And I can tell you that one of the things that we are going to really be talking about with programs is the idea that throughout the crisis, when we've had CARES dollars or the Act 24 dollars or the CRRSA dollars, staff salaries, bonuses, all of those kinds of things were always allowable expenses. So really working to help the field understand that that's the case with these dollars, and how investing in staff is really a way to invest in the long-term health of the program. So we're going to be really working to put together some additional things around that. But again, we've seen some different models where states are you know, kind of chunking parts of the funds off and saying, if you take these funds, you need to agree to use them for salaries. And the administration doesn't seem to be, they're really still kind of backing the more flexible option. Now, having said that, we don't have final approval on anything. We're still collecting information from folks, still waiting to hear from people. So things could change, but at this point in time, that's kind of the direction that we're going in. That's what we're anticipating that we're going to be doing with the dollars. We also have, you know, there's the Child Care Discretionary Fund dollars. Those are dollars that are more long-term. They have to be encumbered by the end of September of 2023. So we actually have a couple of years that we would be able to use those dollars. And again, that's where we're also looking, getting some feedback and working through DHS leadership and the administration to think through how to use those dollars, because that's really more about the system and what kinds of things can we do on the short term in the system to really shore it up. So things related to technical assistance and professional development and systems building, and then some additional supports for families, because we continue to hear throughout the listening sessions around the state plan and other engagement that we've been doing, that families are still struggling, particularly families that are on the higher end of the copay scale or have just kind of are just above the income guidelines for CCW, that those are still really struggling, and coming up with ways to support families that don't take money away from providers. So using these dollars to kind of plug that gap in the short term. So again, as we get more information and are allowed to share that, we will make sure to get that information out. But those are kinds of that's how those dollars are being thought to be used at this point. But we still have a lot of work to do. We're really waiting for Phil too to really help us out. And I'm excited that he was on board. He gave us really good information before, and I think it's going to be a really good partnership now with this wave too. Any questions for me about that?
I have a question, Karen. If providers use the funds for salary increases, what is Octel's plan for them to be able to continue maintaining that salary level moving forward?
Yeah, I think that's part of the education, is that whatever you're doing with these dollars, and we need to be really careful that when the money runs out, the money runs out. And so we need to talk about the fact that some of these things are going to be temporary. And I think, Octel's strategy has always been, Trace has always really advocated for the idea that we need to continue to chip away at those base rates and start to get those rates up. And then we need to be thinking about other investments, that we can't pass those costs on to families. I mean, this is the same issue that we've had from, before the pandemic, that we need to figure out how are we paying a living wage and how are we paying a worthy wage to folks that have credentials. So it's going to be an ongoing conversation. And part of that education is going to be that if you're going to use these for salaries, that folks need to understand that at this point in time, we need to do a lot of work to bring up those base rates and to come up with other funding streams to keep that going on after the 2023, September 2023, when those other dollars are gone. But the goal would be to use the money to have some of the money to continue to chip away and move towards that 75th percentile. There's also some work that we're talking about to move away from that idea of a market rate survey, because we know there are a lot of places in the state where the market rate, it's suppressed because families, they can't do anything more. So what kind of alternate methodology can we do to really figure out what the true cost of care is and move those base rates closer to that true cost of care and not rely so much on that market rate, which we know is suppressing it in some places. So it's definitely all long-term strategy, and there's going to be a lot of work to message it so that folks understand what the limitations are, but particularly around staff bonuses and hazard pay, or we've heard that folks are trying to do sign-on bonuses and stuff to attract new staff into the field, that those are all allowable expenses right now.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That was all a lot of good information, Karen. Do you have anything else?
No, that was everything that was on my list, unless there are things that folks expected me to tell them about that I have not. I'm glad to answer other questions if I can.
Anybody have any other questions for Karen before we move on to Christy? Nope. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Karen. So
Sure.
Christy, would you like to give us an update from the Elrc?
Sure. I'll start, and then there's lots of CCC staff on this Zoom. looking around, we're about a third of the group today, so I don't have to do all the talking. Guys, feel free to jump in. We have been busy processing, as you know, 4 rounds of CARES funding this year, as well as the pandemic relief awards. There was some monitoring involved with the pandemic relief awards, surveys and things like that that providers had to submit. It was a challenge for some of them. And so the staff did an incredible job working with them to make sure that those were completed. There were some behind the scenes technical problems with the survey system and the reporting system that exacerbated that problem, but we have gotten everybody through that. And so, again, I appreciate the team and the providers for their patience and diligence. Right now, as Karen said, the main issue really is staffing. We are, I think we all know, and clearly we're preaching to the choir, that ECE staffing has always been a challenge. The field has subsidized the cost of care for families on the back of their low salaries. And as there's a staffing crisis in every industry, it's just really hitting ECE hard. I have been hearing anecdotally from programs. We have one program that's operating at about 40% of their regular capacity solely because they cannot find staff. And we do have programs that are giving bonuses, but they're competing. I was on the call with some business leaders, the Economic Alliance, about a week or so ago, and there's a business that's giving people $1,000 bonus if they show up to work on time every day for their first week. And you know, all of us were just kind of shaking our heads of like, really? It's come to that? So hence my question, Karen, you know, that this is just, I am very, very worried about what this is going to mean. We are already seeing that employers are struggling to find workers, and what they're hearing is that they can't find childcare, and they can't find childcare because the childcares can't find teachers, and it's just this vicious circle.
So Christy, while you're on there, this might be a question for you, Karen, and maybe Jennifer Piles. So with this rescue plan money type of thing, is there any or additional funds do we think going to go towards the apprenticeship, like the apprenticeship model for more people to be able to be in? And then I guess will the apprenticeship model be able to handle that, an influx of people?
Yeah, I'll let Jennifer speak to the official models. I know the Child Care Consultants has been working with a local foundation, York, which is, you know, the equivalent to TFEC in York County for all practical purposes, and have a proposal in with them at the request of York County providers to help them with recruitment, working with our Economic Alliance, which is our equivalent of the chamber, on an apprenticeship training support program. So I'll know a little bit more about that in a week or so. But yeah, I am hopeful that one of the things that we can continue to think about at the PD level, and again, I'll let Jennifer answer that, is how can we support and encourage people that are looking to enter the field.
So hello, everybody. Nice to see you all. And Karen, chime in too with the funding element if you'd like to as well. But Ocdale did add some additional funds to the PDO's budget last year and again this year for apprenticeship, which is fabulous. And we are, we've worked with partners to hire professional development coordinators, but also apprenticeship coordinators across the region. And they are doing amazing work connecting with employer partners to help employers understand what apprenticeship is, what it looks like, what it can do for their programs and for their teachers. We see not only apprenticeship, but also the PDOs as a really great recruitment tool. We think we need to do a better job of communicating that out to our employers to do more of that kind of communication around what PDOs can mean for their centers and for their recruitment efforts. So our apprenticeship coordinators are a great contact for you, and we're happy to share that information with anyone who'd like to get in connection with them. They've been doing Zoom meetings several times a month with employer partners, especially in the South Central region. Dawn Mineta is our South Central Regional Apprenticeship Coordinator. She's been doing a great job. And we hope that that's a great way to encourage not only individual growth, but also center growth as well. So we're excited about the apprenticeship program. You should also know that one thing that the PDO is doing is we're also doing some targeted technical assistance with higher ed, because while we're recruiting employer partners and apprentices into program, we also must increase the number of programs to which they can connect for that educational training. So we are working with a number of our higher ed partners, specifically Jean Allison out of Delaware County Community College, who's been doing apprenticeship from the get-go, and Kathy Kashner from Northampton Community College, and then Dawn Mineta, who's our apprenticeship coordinator. They are contracted to do some targeted technical assistance to help get higher eds across the finish line to have really quality apprenticeship programs for our early childhood workers, and then to recruit new higher eds into apprenticeship programming. So we're kind of doing both and at the same time.
And then I'm sorry, but I can't speak specifically to the funding other than to say that Octal is really happy with the work that the PDOs are doing. In general, we're really excited about the apprenticeship work. I would anticipate, I mean, that the funding, at least what's there now, is going to remain. I know that the discretionary portion of the ARP money is being looked at. So I'm not sure, where the administration is going to come down in terms of how to divvy that up. But Octal is definitely, we see it as we see it as a strong way to connect people to credentials. So my understanding is that the investments are going to continue. That was a real political answer, huh? Sorry.
That's all right. We know. The other thing I will say we're really excited about is child care consultants got a grant from TFEC. Thank you very much. We do really appreciate that, which is going to allow us to support individuals looking to open home-based family programs in Lebanon. This is an expansion modeled after our program in York County that's funded by the United Way and has gone on for about 30 years or so in York. So we're really excited about this because, there's always been a need for certified quality home-based providers in our region. Most of the second and third shift and weekend care is provided by family providers, and is a real need. So I think that's one of the things as we talk about the staffing shortage. Sure, it's employees at centers and groups, but it's also a critical need for more family providers. And we have seen on our resource and referral side that during the pandemic, families have been increasingly asking for family providers, feeling that would be a safer option for their children to be in a smaller setting with less children coming in and out. Just their personal preference. We've been hearing quite a bit in this past 15 months or so. So that's kind of where, what we hear on the staffing side. On the child care work side, of course, this is the time of year for what's known as the school age flip. That's just part of transitioning the children that are in the K-12 system, really K-6 system, over to being a full day on the child care work side. So that's behind the scenes work and work between providers and our child care work staff to make that happen. That's been a little challenging this year with all of the changes in school district schedules and things like that. But this is a date that Octal sets every year where literally the system in Pelican kind of flips from those kids being a part-day childcare works rate to being a full-day childcare works rate. On the STAR side, and I really don't feel like I should talk about the STAR side because I have my STARS crew here. But they have been really busy doing a tremendous amount of professional development and director boot camps and teacher talks and teacher trainings and teacher boot camps and trainings on pretty much any topic you can think of. So I'm going to let Corey and Alyssa, if you guys want to talk about that. And then after they're done, we'll let Shelley and Bea talk about some of the community engagement work that you guys have been doing. And I'm putting them on the spot. They didn't know I was going to do this.
I didn't know if Corey wanted to talk at all. I'm Alyssa. I'm not part of any of the groups, but I am a team lead. So I've been helping and kind of overseeing and being involved behind the scenes in some of the trainings that have been going on. But we do have a director boot camp and a teacher boot camp that are going out, and it's a series. We also have a lot of community of practices that are being worked on as well, where many of our team members are working together to do trainings on, like Christy said, pretty much anything that our providers need help with. We have a lot of work groups that are happening as well. There's going to be a new system for everyone to upload documents through the PA keys, and that will be rolling out in August. So we're having a work group on that at the end of this month. We're finishing up we're going to be starting our fiscal monitoring for the PRA awards and getting ready for our renewals that are beginning in July. So we are very busy right now. And if you have specific questions on any of the community of practice or trainings that we're doing, feel free to reach out and ask, and I can get you more information on specifics. Corey, do you have anything to add?
Well, I've helped with both the director boot camp and the teacher boot camp, and we've had a surprising support from both those groups, 30 to 50 people that participate each time we've offered it. The director boot camp has gone on for over a year now. And the teacher boot camp was something new that we thought, well, we offer this information for directors, we should do something for the teachers, especially ones that are new to the field and may not understand a lot of why they're doing what they're doing. So we cover different things from the DHS regulations to the PD registry to what your classroom should look like during the day, different things to include like in your lesson plans and activities and transitions. So we've gotten a lot of good feedback from both of those, that teachers really appreciate them. And we've also offered conscious discipline to teachers and directors, which they've really enjoyed that and kind of opened their eyes to behind the scenes of why they may have some behavior issues in their classrooms and how to handle them better.
Great.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sorry, Corey, I do have a question. Now you're saying the consciousness. So are you hearing that you're seeing more behaviors, or it's the same as it was?
I think there is tending to be a little bit more just because of everything that these kids have had to go through in the last year.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. I was wondering if they're seeing, because of some of the stresses and strains going on, and what could be going on in the families too, if the centers are seeing more behaviors.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the other things that we have been doing for past 7-8 months is we have a health and safety task force that our COVID consultant funded by the PNC grant that I've mentioned at previous meetings staffs that committee. really looking cross-section in the same way that the group on the screen now is cross-section of how we can support providers and families with the changing realities and guidelines and recommendations from the CDC, the Department of Health, OCTEL, related to COVID, and be a support system. So that group meets every month. If you have an interest in that and you, for some reason, or one of the few people that missed an invitation that went out, let me know. We can get you on that. But I think that has been effective. And to Karen's point, there is a lot of conflicting information. When the CDC came out, I think, and surprised a lot of people of saying, oh, okay, if you've been vaccinated, you don't have to wear your mask. I think it left a lot of employers at every level, and certainly our ECE providers trying to figure out, okay, well, what do I do? What's best practice? What is OCTEL saying in the Department of Health? So I think those updates I know will be appreciated at the time that they're vetted and reviewed and ready to go. I want to turn it over to Shelley now, and she can talk a little bit about some of our community engagement work. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Yes, I am really excited because we have finally been able to get all of our United Way partners together. We have a meeting scheduled with them in the next couple weeks, and the partners from the United Ways that we work with are all going to be meeting, and we're going to look at what they're each doing and how we can kind of come back together and do some collaboration, support for one another, just so that we're all kind of on the same page, so that all of the United Ways are working together and supporting one another. So I was really excited about that opportunity. Last week, I was also involved in the Early Learning Investment Commission Summit, and that was really great too. So I'm looking forward to making some connections with the PA Chamber of Commerce. We are a member of that, and hoping that we can make some connections to the business community that way, so that we can, as they're struggling to find workers who can find childcare, we can support and develop those relationships as well. So that's what I have been working on. B, I don't know if you want to share a little bit of what you've been doing.
Yeah, I'll share one thing. I'm currently working on contacting homeless liaisons in the various school districts in our counties. And I've just been getting resources out to them for if they have any of their homeless families looking for childcare, giving them information about what the ELRC is and what the whole process is and guidelines for the family. So I've had a very good response from the liaisons, some of them not knowing what the resources are that we have. So they've been appreciative about that. So that's my current project, among others.
All right, well, I don't want to take up too much more time, but that's kind of at a high level what we're doing. I didn't say this earlier, but we still currently do not have a Child Care Works wait list. So if you are working with families that are needing support in paying for the cost of care, please do send them our way. Thank you. Any questions?
No, thank you, Christy. Thank you. Before I go to Amy, I'm going to ask out there to Karen, if you know, in that plan, is there any talks of doing any family engagement? I know like Shelley's doing some family engagement or some family engagement for the centers with the families, like family outreach.
Yeah, I don't know if it's so much ARP money, but OCTEL's really been thinking about our stakeholder engagement in general and how to do more outreach with families. So it's definitely something that we are thinking about. I don't have any specifics at this point. We're starting with really thinking about our Early Learning Council. Right now, it's really based on the original act, the Head Start Act, so from 2007. So that original executive order from the Rendell administration, and it's just, it hasn't grown with the states, you know, the expansion of Octel. It hasn't adjusted to the fact that there's no longer any funding associated with it. So we're really, you know, kind of starting there and then trying to think through how to then engage, you know, locally, those kinds of things. So, but I don't have anything specific in terms of ARP money and how we're going to use it.
Okay. Yeah, maybe talk to Christy, because those first 10 seem to be working well, I think, in her region.
Yeah, we do have work with Pritzker that is really about,
Yes.
You know, we've been supportive of the leadership cohort that they've been working on with families as part of the Pritzker grant. And really kind of looking at that as a pilot and seeing, you know, how those kinds of strategies can then be taken to scale in different places across the state.
And we had Cheryl from EI, they were doing that. They had one of the Pritzker grants.
We had one, a small.
I'm sorry, sure.
I was just gonna say, we had a smaller Pritzker grant that has ended now.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I sit on the family engagement group that's Pennsylvania, Maryland. Karen Schnotsky, am I saying her last name properly? I'm not sure, excuse me if I am not, also sits on that. And that group has been meeting about every 5-6 weeks or so and doing a lot of work around family engagement. Child care consultants also became an official parent cafe facilitator, and Shelley and several of our staff have led several sessions of the parent cafe model. And of course, we have our Parents as Teachers program in York, and I know up in this area, there's several Parents as Teachers program, and they have group connection sessions. And as Jeannie mentioned, our First 10 initiative also is doing, many of them are doing play and learn groups, which are very similar to the group connections for Parents as Teachers, and a way to engage with the families. So, you know, that's something that, yeah, when, you know, Jeannie and I, we go back to the old days when we were the learn coordinators and the community engagement coordinators before that funding was eliminated. But childcare consultants, I think, has really been still focused on how do we work with families. And I know all the United Way partners and certainly TFEC and Jeannie's work has continued to really focus on that family engagement that's so critical to what we do.
Okay, thank you, ladies. Anybody have any other questions for Christy or Shelley? Anybody? Okay. Okay, then Amy, we're going to turn it over to you.
Great. Hi, everyone. I just wanted to give you a little light at the end of the tunnel. Both Pfizer and Moderna are actually conducting clinical trials of their vaccines in groups of children as young as 6 months of age right now. So we're anticipating that Pfizer will ask the FDA for emergency use authorization for children younger than 12, probably by September. So it's happening a lot faster than we anticipated, which is great. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of good news there. Now, of course, the youngest group, which includes infants and toddlers, would likely come several months after that approval for the kids under 12. I was thinking like it'd probably be between the age of 5 and 12 would be the first group to go. And then the infants and toddlers and preschoolers would follow after that. But it really is picking up speed. So that's really encouraging, I think, that it's on the horizon and a light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak, for our kids. I wanted to announce a really exciting initiative that I've been working on with the American Red Cross, and it's all about fire safety. And it's fire safety for family child care homes and residential group homes. So this is for operators who are working in a home setting. And the American Red Cross, and this is statewide, by the way, we have a wonderful contact, Heather Bowman. She's the regional preparedness manager for the American Red Cross in Pennsylvania. And we are working to put together a package right now. It's pretty much ready to go, but we're just tweaking the letters. And we could really use your help to get this word out. These are all free resources that are going to be available for family childcare homes and residential group homes. Their initiative overall is called Sound the Alarm, Save a Life. And it's free. It's all free home fire preparedness. And one of their programs is called Ready Rating as well. And this is used to prepare businesses to become more prepared for disasters and other emergencies. So Ready Rating members have access to one-of-a-kind tools, resources, and information for evacuating and improving their ability to withstand disasters, protect lives and property. And that also is a free program. All of this is free. And Heather wanted me to convey that the fire safety planning and practice is actually a very hands-on type of program with a volunteer from the American Red Cross in the community, and many of them are fire safety professionals. They will come into the homes and install smoke detectors for free. And these are the ones with lithium batteries, that are required by regulation on all levels of the building, including of the home, including basement. So that's a really great offer of support, I think. Not everyone is going to need that, but it's nice to know that it's available. Also, we're adding on some preschool educational materials from the National Fire Protection Association called Learn Not to Burn. And it's a brand new curriculum. It's in English and Spanish for 3 to 5-year-olds. And it's really very interactive and fun for the kids. Oh, that's thunder in the background. Oh my goodness, it's really happening. Yeah, so I just thought that was good news, right? To share a little bit of good news and how the American Red Cross in Pennsylvania is really excited about working with OCDEL. This all went through OCDEL. So OCDEL's on board, and it's a nice collaboration. Are there any questions? I'm going to send you the materials so you can distribute them digitally. Like I said, we're just tweaking them a little bit right now.
Great.
Any questions about that? Okay, good. Emergency preparedness obviously is a very hot topic, and we're hearing a lot about how programs are getting ready to do a lot of field trips and play outside during the heat and so forth. And that is definitely an issue right now because we know that heat kills children in vehicles. It's very disturbing, but it happens a lot, and it can happen to the best and the brightest. So we have been working with Excels to put together a really nice e-announcement, e-newsletter about, some of the strategies that you can use to prevent this. One of them is to keep a large stuffed animal in the child's car seat so that when the child's placed in the car seat, you would put the stuffed animal in the front passenger seat as a visual reminder that the child is in the back seat. That's just one of the examples that are given here. And of course, we have to think about what are those signs and symptoms of heat stroke. With the, it can happen very quickly in young children. And it just happens in a matter of minutes. they have red, hot, and moist or dry skin. There's no sweating with heat stroke necessarily, even though the child is warm. The child usually has a throbbing headache, dizziness, nausea, and confusion, or just acting strangely, which is probably what providers are going to see. The child's acting strangely. One of the things we can do to prevent all this, of course, is to be careful about the times of day that the children are outside. And I wanted to, I'm sure you've all seen this. This is the Child Care Weather Watch tool. I can put it in the chat. It's very helpful because it has the heat index and also the temperature, and it gives you very clear visual aid here about when it's safe to go outside and when you need to have caution. So it's in a red, yellow, and green format. Green is go, yellow is caution, and red is considered dangerous. So I'll share that with you. And also talking a lot about having plenty of shaded areas. I know it's really difficult with the heat, but if programs can really look into having more of those special, maybe, you know, some of those kite or type things that go over the grass or between trees, you know, these are areas where kids hopefully can, and adults can find some shade, and just also have many of them if possible, so that people aren't congregating under those shaded areas. So just a reminder about that. And we've had also a very serious health alert from the Department of Health around Lyme disease and other tick-borne diseases in Pennsylvania. That came out mid-May. Perhaps you heard about it already, but we did get some guidance from certification around what happens if a child care provider finds an embedded tick on a child during the program day. And certification is recommending that if the provider finds an embedded tick, they should just contact the child's parent or guardian immediately so that next steps can be determined. And it's consistent with Regulation 132A. It's not recommended for a provider to remove an embedded tick, although there's no regulation that states that they can't do it. But that being said, it's advised that the provider not remove a tick unless there's written authorization by the parent, and the provider has also received appropriate health and safety training to remove the tick carefully and appropriately. There's a lot of information on this from Caring for Our Children and from the CDC, but I just wanted to share that that was the latest information that's been shared with me from certification, and also recommend that it be done immediately. This is really an emergency almost. I mean, it's not going to be that kind of an emergency where you're going to call for immediate help necessarily, but the parent should come as soon as they can, because it takes about 36 to 48 hours of the tick being attached before Lyme is spread. So if that tick goes undetected, which it could, you know, it could be behind the ears or in the scalp, in an area covered by clothing that a parent wouldn't see, or and so it does happen. And so, you know, we need to find it within 36 to 48 hours and have it removed properly. And usually children probably would receive some antibiotics from their healthcare provider, just as a precaution. Are there any questions about the ticks? Okay. Just a word about ventilation. There's a lot of information in the CDC guidance for childcare programs during COVID. It's the May 7th guidance. And it offers a lot of great information about outdoor air ventilation and how to really consider running your HVAC system with maximum outside airflow for 2 hours before and after the center or home is occupied. I'm saying this because if it's so hot that you're not going outside, obviously you're staying indoors with people who are unvaccinated and unrelated. So it increases the risk for transmission. It's very important that programs are looking into how they're ventilating indoors at this time. So if they don't have a HVAC system or they want extra filtration, they can use a portable high efficiency particulate air or a HEPA cleaner. And when choosing the cleaner, select one that's the right size for the rooms. And it gives good information on the square footage and how to select those here. And we always add that it's best, definitely don't use ozone vaporizers, because those actually create problems for people with respiratory issues like asthma and allergies. Ozone is not safe to be inhaling and to be inside the childcare setting. So just wanted to mention that again. That's about it for me. Is that what you wanted? If I missed anything, let me know. I can't hear you.
Sorry. We were just looking for any update, so that's helpful. Information. I have never heard of the ozone thing, but other than the ozone, I had never heard of the special you had. So that's helpful. Anybody have any questions for Amy? Okay.
No, but I do have to say that the idea that the vaccines might be authorized for children as young as 6 months at some point soon is very welcome information.
I'm glad to give it to you.
Yes, thank you.
I wanted to give some good news to you guys.
Well, that'll definitely help our early intervention teams, like hugely.
Good. Thank you.
Good. Thank you. So I wanted to ask anybody if you wanted to share summer programming plans or wanted to talk about summer programming concerns, if there was anybody that wanted to talk anything about that. I know some people have started. We started talking a little about that.
I would like to just say, like, lifeguard shortage. I think we're looking for a lifeguard. I know, I think I've heard a couple different places looking for lifeguards. So that's definitely something that's going to affect summer programs.
Do you take your lifeguard with you, or do you,
Yeah,
or is
we
it
have
a
to-
pool?
We use the pool here at the college, but we have to have our own lifeguard in addition to their 3 or 4 lifeguards too. So, but every center that would go to a pool would need to have a lifeguard. And I don't know if other centers are having problems finding any. But I did hear that, everybody's still looking for lifeguards. And I don't know if it came from nobody was recertified last summer, or if, people aren't, I'm willing to pay a high dollar because I just need that one lifeguard so we can go swimming. So, I don't know what other centers are doing, if they're going swimming, if they had luck finding lifeguards, but I even thought we could share a lifeguard if we could find a lifeguard. I don't know if anybody else is having trouble finding a lifeguard.
We stopped going swimming a couple of years ago because we had that problem. So, and then so many people needed to be certified for the age of the kids. So we haven't been swimming probably in at least 5 years.
Wow.
Maybe 8, because we just couldn't get people certified. So
yeah,
I feel you.
And I want to try extra hard this year because I think a lot of these kids just haven't been to the pool, and we have, we can do small groups, but I certainly am not going to go get certified myself, but I'm starting to contemplate, should I just get a teacher here certified? I don't know.
I recommend the American Red Cross.
Yeah.
There are a lot of organizations out there that are not as obviously high quality.
Right.
And I just came across one recently that had, believe it or not, all of their content online. And so you could get certified online, and it was up to the employer to make sure that that person actually had the skills to be the lifeguard. So that's obviously not going to work, right? So I shared that information with certification. Hopefully they'll come out with some good guidance on that. But there are some definite issues with organizations trying to sell their programs online right now. So you have to really watch out for that.
Anyone else with any summer camps or summer camp concerns? Okay, then Leslie and I also wanted to ask, after we hope everybody enjoyed the conference that we had back in March. And they were able to do a lot of the sessions. We wanted to know, is there any following up from that? Are there any additional trainings or anything else that people were looking for or would like to have trainings or more webinars on, or if there was anything that was of interest to anybody?
So Jeannie.
Yeah, hi, Kim.
Hi, my liaisons love social emotional learning training.
Okay.
Any type of cell. We've been through all of the trauma. There are times when their first aid, CPR, AED certification is up. I don't know if you have anything to do with that or know where we can go through.
I don't know that. I think that's a Christy question. I think they do with some of that technical assistance, but we can look into more social emotional training webinars to do that.
Yeah, we're finding like when we're talking to our school districts, they're like, oh, we can work on the academics. So if they're not coming completely academically prepared for kindergarten, that's okay. We can't, they don't have the time to invest in, can they sit still? Can they get along with peers? So it's more of that social emotional peer to peer that they're lacking. And anytime we can provide that in our workshops or, moving forward with United Way, our intent with our goals is to provide more professional development training for the liaisons. A lot of them aren't certified, so they don't need the continuing ed credits moving forward, but we do feel like we need to stay on top of whatever the most current trending things are, but that being one.
Okay, that sounds good.
Thank you.
Are you and your staff getting our e-newsletter? Your liaisons?
I don't know if they are.
Okay. We'll get the link to sign up for that because, as Corey and Alyssa and others were talking about, we provide quite a number of supports and workshops and things like that. And I realized that, obviously, and especially from the call last week, the liaisons are in kind of a slightly different role, but we certainly would be glad to include them in any of those information sessions. So help me out, guys. Is the link to sign up for the e-newsletter right on our website? I don't think it is.
Christy, I don't think that it is right now, but I can get the link. And I think I just sent it to Shelly actually last week, so I can get it.
I am putting it in the chat box right now.
All right.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So you should be able to click on that and it should take you to the sign up.
And for anybody, that's not a top secret invitation only. If you want any information about what Child Care Consultants is doing in the world of supporting providers and families, That really is the best way. That gets sent out twice a week through an e-newsletter blast.
It's not looking like if I click on it, it's working, but you can copy and paste it into your browser, according to my son.
Okay, anybody else have anything they want to share? And I don't know if you saw that, but if you saw it in the chat, Amy also put up that weather watch tool. So if anybody was interested in that for programs or to share, or even to share with families.
Jeannie, this is Rose. I just wanted to share with everybody, if you have any staff who are looking for CDA, we are launching our Cda sessions for the fall. We have 2 English and a Spanish Cda session that will run. The Spanish begins August 17th and the English begins September 7th or 14th, something like that. But you can also always check the Panacea website and Panacea's emails. So if you are interested or have staff who are interested in getting the CDA coursework done, please feel free to check us out.
Thank you, Rose. Does anybody else have anything else they want to share or questions to Rose about the CDA program?
Rose, I just have to say, I have really enjoyed the mental health workshops that you guys have been doing on Wednesdays. They have been really beneficial.
Good. Well, and don't forget, tomorrow is the one with Nefertiti Bruce, or Nefertiti Poner, his name is now. And that's going to be a great one. We are very fortunate. We have some talented people in the Penn State Cooperative Extension, as well as at Octo with Brandy Fox, who helped us out with that. And we just felt that it was a really important topic to cover. We will be doing another mini series in the fall. That one is going to be focused on nature play.
Rose, do you want to tell people a little bit about that mental health?
Yeah, so we've been doing, we started last year at the beginning of COVID doing these sort of 4-week mini sessions where we pick a day of the week, a time of day, and we do sort of like 4 sessions. This particular set of sessions that we're doing is the mental health mini series, Who's Caring for the Caregiver? And it was all focused on issues of mental health, as well as we started it out with a kickoff of the PBS documentary, Mental Illness, The Mysteries of Mental Illness, and really just looking at the fact that there are so many pieces to it. And then last week we did, what is mental health and mental illness? Like what are some of those kinds of things? This week's session tomorrow is going to be, it's from 1 to, this one is from 1 to 2:30. And the session is building your bounce, 7 strategies for a resilient you. And then the following week will be same time, it's 1 to 3. And that session is with Cindy Pollock, and she is doing tips and tricks for caring for yourself.
That sounds great. Is there a way people can find out about it?
Yep, I will look here if I can figure out how. I don't have a son standing next to me directing me. But I will see if I can put it in the chat for you for the registration for tomorrow.
Oh, okay, great. Great, because some people might want to do that, or might want to do that or pass that on to somebody else. Because they're always nice ones to have. Anybody else have anything they want to share?
I just put in the chat box the link to our frequently asked question document on the PAQ website, and it's all about questions related to COVID, and we updated it recently. So we've been telling folks to take a look at it. The new sections are all in red, so you can see, you know, what's been updated. But there's a lot of good information in there about some of these strategies for indoor air quality and so forth. So wanted to direct you to that.
Thank you. Oh, there you go. Rose put it in there. So if anybody's interested in doing that or passing that on to anybody, does anybody else have anything they want to share? No. Okay. Well, then we want to thank you, Leslie, and I want to thank you for joining us. And we hope this was useful information for you for the upcoming summer. And we will look, I know everybody's summers are busy, and we will look to do something in August before school starts. So everybody have a wonderful rest of the afternoon and have a good summer.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.